What's going on, YouTube? All right, still sorting up. What's going on, YouTube? This is Anthony, and I'm just sorting another couple things out with my whole move to the new woodyard. And I had my 40-yard bin that was sitting outside for a week and a half, and I was trying to call companies to get my bin moved. So all kinds of calls, maybe about 50 calls I made. Some people, I talked to them like maybe 12, 15 times, and they couldn't commit to it. And then I just took the log splitter in to get some finishing work done on it, and then I saw a roll-off truck roll up, and it's the guys with the bin company next door. So I asked the guy if he could drop my bin for me, and that bin was sitting out there for 10 days, and luckily after all that time, only one garbage bag got thrown in it, right? So I was pretty lucky that way. But I had a guy come on the weekend, it's Monday now, and a guy came on the weekend with a flatbed, and maybe I should have said something, but I thought he was going to have a problem loading up the bin because the wood, because it got lifted up before, all the wood dropped to the back of the bin, right? So yeah, you can pick up the front okay, but there's too much weight at the back. So he started using the winch to pull, and the winch wouldn't pull, so we had to use the bed of the flatbed truck, the tow truck basically, to try and put it on. So we got it up there, and then he tried to use the airbags to jack up the rear end, and then he blew an airbag. There's like a little hole, you could hear the air coming out, right? So we had to put it down. So I was upset about that, but he didn't charge me. That was actually the same guy who helped me with my truck when my motor went and I had to get towed back to the shop, right? So he's a pretty cool guy. Thanks a lot to him, you know, for coming and saying, okay, well, don't worry about it, right? It's a company truck and they'll take care of the work, you know, so that's why he didn't really want to charge for it either. But now I have this guy with the roll-off, and I just spoke to him, and he does smoking of meat. So I'm actually trading this guy some wood for the fee that it cost me to take the bin up to the place. So I just left the shop, and he put the bin on the truck, and then I got the smoker wood in the truck because I got to go pick up the log splitter on the way back, and I got to bring it up to the wood yard after. So all I had to do on the splitter was put some rails on the sides where the wood comes out so that all the debris and all the wood doesn't fall off the sides. And then one of the pieces of sheet metal over the engine and the hydraulic reservoir, I had to get that tacked down because it was just welded in the front and not all around the other three sides. And then the log lifter, there's a couple gaps so that when you have the smaller blocks, they might fall through a little bit. But not only that, more importantly, when I'm working on it, I have to be able to stand on the log lifter too. So if there's a big gaping hole at the bottom, you know, I'm going to be not tripping over it and falling or anything like that, but I'm just going to be fumbling with it while I'm stepping around that area. Another thing about this whole fiasco with moving is, you know, you guys don't know me that well. You guys kind of get a sense of who I am and how I do things, and you know, I'm pretty good with the customers, and you know, I work hard and everything, and you know, I have integrity, I have values and everything, and I don't like to disparage people, you know. But just dealing with my ex-landlord, like, this guy's a piece of work, man. You know, okay, so now I understand the principle that, you know, I'm moving out of the yard, so, you know, okay, well, it's not my space for me to go anymore, right? But mind you, my stuff is still there. The new tenant, who actually met at the jerk chicken restaurant where I go and get Jamaican jerk chicken for lunch all the time, I know that guy, and he's moving into the yard, and he's okay with me having the wood stay there for a bit until I move, right? He says, if you get it out by a certain time, then, you know, I won't charge you any money. So he gave me a couple of weeks, and then after that I would have to pay. But, you know, the wood's not staying there. I'm probably getting it moved tomorrow. So he's okay with me coming and doing whatever I have to do. But the landlord is like, oh, I don't want you coming on the property. And we kind of convinced them, both me and the other guy, we convinced them that, okay, well, if I have to come in here, I have to come in here. You know what I mean? I had a bunch of wood that the landlord brought over to my shop because I had to deliver it to the smokehouse right across from the wood yard. And so I told him put 4 crates on, and about 3.5 crates is a full cord. So I start picking through the wood and loading it in the truck, but then so much of the wood I had to leave back because it's not wood that the guy wants to use in the smoker, like ash. There was some honey locust I put in there, but I didn't want to put too much. The birch, and what else was in there? The black locust was also in there, so I left that all out and made sure the guy had oak. There wasn't really there was no cherry. There might have been a couple pieces of apple. There's sugar maple. There's a little bit of elm. I didn't want to give him too much of that either. There's other like Norway maple, silver and maple, but that's basically it. So I asked him if I could come over, if he could load me up another crate so that I could pick through and I could fulfill the guy's order. So if I had to shortchange the guy a little bit and say, okay, well, just take 2 face guards for now, it'll hold you off for now, and then I'll bring you another load next time when you run out. I wanted to get the guy the full order, obviously, to get full pay when I go there. So I said, well, can you just I need some empty crates because I want to sell some of my crates, right? So can you bring some over? And I just need like 3 of them, right? And I need 1 more crate of wood to bring over. So he says, oh, well, you got to sit out on the street. You can't come in the yard. I said, well, I got to go into the yard and pick which crate I want to pick the wood out of, because, I don't want to go through the same fiasco that I'm doing here, right? So he did actually let me in the yard, but then what happened was I went to look for him the other day because I owe him a few bucks for, well, not anymore, but I had to pay him for helping me out with the truck motor, which he says, don't worry about that, just pay me later, right? I was behind on rent at the time and I caught up, so he wants his money now, and this guy always thinks people are trying to screw him over, I guess, whatever, right? So I said, okay, I'll pay up the money to you and everything. So I paid him back the money, to most of it anyway, and then I had the last chunk to give him. So I went to the yard and I don't see him in there. Now the gate was locked, his truck was there, his doors were open, but the other tenant was there. So I walked in, I'm like, okay, I'm probably gonna get in trouble, So I start walking around, I can't find him. Where the hell is this guy? I start worrying maybe something happened to him, he passed out or something, and whatever, right? Probably not, but I'm just starting to think, well, why is everything open and the guy's not here? So I go and I knock on the door in the front building, and he's not in there either, right? So I'm just looking around, and all of a sudden I hear this muffled scream, and this guy says, Anthony, get the F out of the yard. Now this guy goes to church, and he says, the S word, but I've never heard this guy use the F word. Why is this guy acting so crazy about me coming here? Now I understand, okay, I gotta go, but it's like, so what? You have to treat me like an enemy now, and then, what's gonna happen in the future? When somebody says they need some excavation or shoring, which is what he does, or he needs some help, or he needs a phone number, or this and that, or he wants to sell something, or whatever, like, why would I want to give that business to him if he's gonna treat me like this? Then I said to him, look, I have the rest of the money I owe you, right? Like, are we okay? And he's like, yeah, we're okay. So now he offered to move me for free, and then he called me on the weekend and he says, okay, well, yeah, you gotta, when do you want to move the stuff? I said, okay, on Monday or Tuesday, whatever, right? So he says, oh, well, you have to pay me to help load up all the stuff onto the truck when you get it out, all the firewood crates, right? I said, but what happened to free? So even when this guy doesn't even want me on his property, he's still trying to make money off of me, So I'm gonna, rip into this guy a bit, not in a negative fashion or anything like that, but I'm gonna tell him, put himself in my shoes, and I'm gonna tell him that I'm not gonna, don't call my number. Don't ask me for, any kind of help. If you want to sell something, don't call me. If you need anything, don't call me, right? Because of the way you treated me. But anyways, so I guess because, I heard the guy's voice when he was shouting at me and it was muffled, it's because he was sitting in his cabin cruiser boat that's parked in the lot there. And I think he was down there with his wife, shaboinking the wife, So anyways, I wonder if she heard how he talked to me and then said, well, hey, like, why are you talking to this guy like that? So anyways, so much for this guy. I'm not dealing with this guy anyway, but you know what? When I first started my business, I ran into him, and that's how I know him. Because I was picking up scrap. I had my old 89 4Runner, and I was just driving around the neighborhoods picking up scrap with my utility trailer, and he saw me, and he had his 30-yard bin being dropped off. He has a roll-off truck, and he had his bin there. And he came up to the window and he's all happy-go-lucky, and he said, you know what, I started off like you. I started off my business small, just like you, in a little trailer, and I'm so blessed from God because of where I've gotten now, and I have this big business and everything, right? He came right up on the side of the truck. He put his elbow right on the frame for the window here, right on the door, and he was all happy-go-lucky, right? So it's like, nice. I know somebody who's in the same business, and I found out he's across the street from the shop, right? So I was happy about that guy. But then when he started coming around, and he just comes with all these exorbitant ideas of like making money off of all the things that he does, right? I remember he came around, he had his truck full of wood, and it was like some really big wood, and one of the guys over at the shop, he wanted some of that because he had a wood stove, right? And this is before I put my wood stove in, so they got a little bit of supply from him. But you know, then you come around and talking about he wants to sell this and he wants to do this. It's like, what's with this guy and his prices? You know what I mean? Everything that he has, he thinks it's like 3, 4, 5 times the value of it, right? I'm not sure if I mentioned it before about my skid steer. I gave him the skid steer for a month's rent, like $1,000 because the motor is not running and need all kind of work and everything. A week later, he says, okay, well, what if I sell the skid steer back to you, right? So I'm thinking in my head, oh, just wait for the price that this guy has. You know, it's gonna knock my socks off, right? So I said, how much do you want to sell it back to me for? He says $12,000, right? This is a 1985 case skid steer. You know, this is not some, you know, Bobcat S63 or whatever, you know, 2010 or nothing like that. It's a 1985 skid steer. $12,000 this guy offers me. So I talked to him sometime later, maybe a couple weeks later. This is while we were working on the motor and of the truck, or the wood hauler. And then he said, how much did I offer to sell you the skid steer for? And I said, $12,000. He says, you should have slapped me. So I said to myself, maybe I should have, you know. But anyways, he ended up getting rid of it for $3,000, and that was the end of that machine. But it's this guy is ridiculous with money. I don't know, he's probably had some events in his history in his much younger days, not necessarily in business, because you know, a lot of things can happen to you in business that are, you know, make you very wary of your situations to try and protect yourself from people screwing you around. But I suspect with him is that, you know, he got screwed around a lot before, or a long time before, you know, he's doing all this business stuff, right? Something, you know, from his younger days, right? So anyways, that's what I think. But yeah, I'm glad to be out of there, guys. You know, I got along with him. I didn't have a personal problem with him. I didn't have arguments with him, you know, but I just didn't like the way that he did things. And I hated the fact that, you know, so many times I try to go in the woodyard and I can't get in there because his truck's parked in the way, right? So anyways, I'm just pulling up to the yard here, and I'm gonna get this 40-yard bin unloaded. So that's that story, and that's the end of that chapter. So I'm glad that that's done, and you know, I'm not in the best place here, but I'm gonna make do with what I have. I have a really nice landlord here. So that's about it, and we'll see you guys in the woodyard. Like, subscribe, share, comment, and all that good stuff.